Then start sharing my screen. Please let me know once the screen is visible to you all.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Yes, sir. It's visible.
Great. So yesterday, while ending the session, we were discussing about the differences between the direct query mode and this import mode as far as the actual performance is concerned. Okay. And we were actually in this point wherein I told you that I'll be showing this difference to you by giving the example actually. So the thing is, for example, in this PBX model, what I'll do is I'll try to make a small, what do we say, visual. Okay. Now let's say, for example, and now don't you worry about how to do the visuals and all right away, because this thing in detail, that is the reporting thing, I'll be explaining in detail in later classes. So right now you just have to observe what's happening. Okay. So in this sales order detail table, what I'll do is I'll create a small column chart. Basically, this is a bar chart, but in Power BI, this is called as a column chart because the bars are vertical in this. Okay. So what I'll do is I'll plot the, yeah, with respect to the product ID, I'll try to plot the order quantity. That's right. Okay. And let me see how this has happened in this visual. Just a second. I have to bring in the product ID. Just a second. I'll bring it individually into some axis. On y-axis, I need to bring the measure, and the measure in this case is the this thing. Order quantity is the measure, and on x-axis, I need to bring some dimension, and product ID is one of the dimension. Yeah, and since I think there are lots of product IDs, let me restrict it to some product IDs. So what I'll do, I'll go to some basic filtering and I'll select only certain products, okay, so that this bar chart actually becomes at least visible to you all, else it will not be looking like a bar chart to you, okay. Yeah, okay. Now what we have here is the order quantities, okay, order quantities of different product IDs. For example, this is the product ID number 715. Hope this is visible to you all, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
And with respect to this 716 product ID, the order quantity, the order which was done is 4,522. Okay. Now, if you just, let me just go to another page, okay, and come back to the previous page. This visual is, I mean, it is simply appearing on the screen, okay, meaning it's not taking any time to get loaded. Are you getting the point? But what if we are using the direct query? Now, then what will happen? Every time you reopen this page, okay, or basically every time you kind of open the Power BI as well, what will happen? This Power BI will connect to the backend, because in case of direct query, the data is not in Power BI. But where is the data? Data is in the backend databases like SQL or MySQL. Okay. And that data has to come over here on the runtime, and then this visual will start functioning. Okay. But here, this will be fast. We are in import mode right now. And this will be fast. And that is due to the fact that it is in import mode. The data is in Power BI itself. Okay, so that is the difference of performance I'm talking about. In import mode, the performance will be very high, whereas in direct query, it depends on how fast the network connectivity and the data sources as the queries are executed in real time. Okay, and yeah, only this is stored in the data mode. The information about the data, that is your metadata and your schema, the data model is stored in this. Hope this difference is clear, people.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Now let's coming to next point. This is also very important point, and this point yesterday I showed you. When we are in import mode, let's say we do some data change in the backend. Will it get reflected in the front end? Any answers, please?
No, sir. We have to go and refresh again.
We have to go and refresh it. Whereas if we are in direct query mode, as soon as we change the data in the backend, the same will be reflected in the front end. So this is that point, okay, which we already discussed. Okay. And yeah, import mode, since since in import mode, the data is using the cache memory, that is in the cache mode. Okay. Data is stored in the Power BI service as well. Okay. So, but here data will not be stored in the Power BI service when we are trying to publish it. It again resides in the your source, wherever that source is. Okay, as far as the direct query mode is concerned. And as far as the number of scheduled refreshes that are possible per day in Power BI service, that is supposed to be number 48. At max, 48 refreshes are possible in import mode, whereas in direct query mode, you can refresh as as whenever you want. Okay, because there is no thing as like we say the data whenever it is refreshed in the backend, the same appears in the front end as well. So there's no such restrictions when you talk about the direct query mode. And now these are some of the important differences. The
Sir,
data also. Yes,
so
please.
what do you mean by a maximum 48 schedules per day in the sense like schedule refreshments? What is that?
Let's say let's okay. I'll first of all I'll have to express show what is meant by scheduled refresh. Okay. Anyways, we are discussing that in detail when we are into Power BI service, but nonetheless, okay. Now scheduled refresh in the sense, let's say you have data coming from the backend, okay, and it is, let's say, a sales transaction system. It is coming out of a sales transaction system, okay, and with respect to IST, Indian Standard Timing, let's say your sales transaction basically starts at 10 a.m. in the morning. Okay. Now, since 10 a.m. in the morning, when the sale starts, every now and then it will keep on refreshing. I mean, every now and then it will keep on updating. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the data which is at 10 a.m. will not be similar to the data which is at 1 p.m. in the afternoon. Agree?
True. Yes, sir.
Okay. Similarly, when you close your shop or basically any multi-store, let's consider it a multi-store. Okay. So again, when you open, when you change the records at 8 p.m. at night, again, that data will also not be same which you observed at 10 a.m. or 1 p.m. or 8 p.m. Okay. So let's presume that some dashboard is working based on this data. Okay. Then even that dashboard also should refresh that much amount of time. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I'll do, so in that case, what we do is, let's say the shop opens at 10 a.m. First refresh, we will schedule at 10:30 a.m. to have the morning insights. Let's say next schedule we refresh at 2:30 p.m. Okay. And so on. Ultimately, we'll schedule one more refresh at 9 p.m. Okay. So in this way, how many refreshes we are scheduling per day?
In this case, here 3.
3. Okay. Now, 48 such kind of refreshes are possible per day. 48 instances, meaning every half an hour you can schedule. Getting the point?
Got it, sir.
Okay. So that is the meaning of this thing, 48 refreshes per day. Okay. Now here there is no restriction as such, because in direct query, whenever this changes, immediately that will be reflected here as well. Okay. So that's not a constraint there. Okay. And then this is very important thing, that direct query, it does not support all the DAX functions. There are so many DAX functions, and DAX actually stands for data analysis expressions. And based on DAX, we do the calculated columns and measures in Power BI. And DAX is important. Okay, it is very important as far as the customization that is possible in Power BI. And customization, you cannot neglect that. That is a prime factor as far as the business requirement is concerned, because the business end will be always demanding new and new requirements. They will be accustomed to certain things from other software. And let's say, for example, they are dealing with some migration, okay, from, let's say, Tableau to Power BI. Then they would want whatever was there in Tableau to be developed in Power BI as well. So it requires lots of customizations and workaround methods. And for that, the complete or the sufficient knowledge of DAX is required, people. Okay. And for that, you need to use most of the DAX functions. The problem with direct query is that you cannot use all the DAX functions when you are working in direct query. Whereas in import mode, you can work with all the DAX functions. Similarly, in Power Query Editor, the functionality of transformations get limited. You cannot use certain kind of transformations. Whereas if you are using the import mode, it supports all the transformations from Power Query Editor. Okay. And there are certain other things. Okay, you can go through this PPT once again. Okay, but the important differences, which I just told you, are, those are what you are supposed to mention if they ask this question to you in the interview. Hope this is clear.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and please, I'm actually sharing this PPT as well to you, so please go through all these detailed points as well, because these are some of the simple things. Okay, so that you can go through by yourself. So the difference between the different modes is clear to everyone, people?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So now today we'll start with the introduction to Power Query Editor. Okay, introduction to the Power Query Editor. First of all, let me just close this file. This was just for the sake of this simple demo. Then, yeah. So I'll go to class number 3 and I'll open new Power BI instance. I hope you all people have got Power BI installed in your desktops or your personal computers,
Yes,
basically.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, first of all, once you open the Power BI desktop, before we start this course, and when I say before we start this course, I'm meaning before you start practicing what I'm doing in the class, what you're supposed to do is you need to alter certain initial settings in Power BI, and that you are supposed to do exactly what I'm doing right now. First of all, you need to go to File, and there you go to Options and Settings. Okay, and then you go to Options, and then I'll let it open. Yeah, this screen will be coming. Okay, and then what you do is this type detection, the first one. Okay, in the basically the global. Okay, this is the global, and in global, the first option is data load. In data load, the type detection, you set it to this. Never detect column types. Getting the point? Yeah. And after that, also make sure that your cache memory is cleared. This one. Clear the cache memory from here. Clear the cache memory from here as well. Okay. And this as well. And once that is done, you go to current file. In current file, again, there is a data load. Can you see this? You go to that data load. And here, what you need to do is in the relationship, okay, in the relationship, you have to uncheck import the relationship. Okay. And you also have to uncheck auto detect new relationship. Okay. And there's one more thing. Yeah, this one. Detect column types and headers. This also you need to unselect. Okay.
So may I know the reason? Like,
The reason is if we don't do this, Power BI, what it does is it does certain transformations by itself. Okay, automatically. But I don't want it to happen. I want you to learn those transformations, how to do it manually as well. Okay,
got it, sir.
that's the reason. Okay, and so once this is done, yeah, there's one more thing to be noted. You need to go to global and then in regional settings. Where the regional settings? Yeah, here the regional settings is. You need to make sure that the language is set to English, United States. And here as well in the current file settings, regional settings, make sure that language is set to English, United States. Okay. So first you do this and then you click on OK. And once that is done, save this file. I like to save this as I'll save it later after the classwork is complete, but save it as some, I mean, the name which makes sense to you, like classwork file. Okay. Here. And now let us get in the data. Okay. And for Power, we are starting with the Power Query editor now. Basically, we are trying to import the data and we will be starting with how to transform the data. Okay. So first of all, let me get the data. Okay. So I think, let me first check. It is Excel or CSV file? Yeah, CSV file it is. Okay. So I'll go to text.csv and here in this one, I'll try getting this file, orders underscore 2017 unprocessed file. Okay. And now, once you do that, you'll be getting a preview, just like I told you yesterday. Okay. And in this case, I can do two things. If I click on load, it will take me to Power BI desktop. But if I click on transform data, where will it take me? Anyone? I showed that to you yesterday.
Power Query editors.
Exactly. If I click on transform data, it will take me to Power Query editor. And just by having a preview of this table, do you think it's a uniform table or do you think it needs certain transformations, people?
It has a lot of blanks, so we need
It
to.
has a lot of irregularities, right? It has blanks, it has NA values, and the columns names are not coming correct. They are here. So it needs a lot of transformations, right? So what we'll do, we'll go to transform data and it will take us to Power Query editor. Okay. Now, first, let me ask you, what do you think needs to be done for this? First thing that comes to your mind, because almost everyone will know or will have worked on some kind of data on Excel. You need not be a data analyst to see what is completely wrong with this. Okay. Says, any guesses, people?
Table name.
Hmm?
Table name.
Table name. Okay, let's make it orders 2017. Okay. Then next, table name I changed just by double clicking here.
Column names.
Column names. But do you think, can you see the row number 5?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Do you think it is the column headers or the column names basically? Yes or
Looks
no?
like that.
Looks like that, right? So what we need to do, first of all, we need to get rid of these 4 records or these 4 rows. And after that, we need to bring this as column header. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we'll start doing the transformation now. Okay. And I'll briefly give you the GUI information about this, although it is not needed because as we go on, you will be accustomed to it. Okay. The Power Query editor consists of many tabs. One is the home tab, under which you have so many transformation options available. Then there is the transform tab separately. Under this, again, there are so many transformation options that are available here, like group by, unpivot columns, replace values, all those things. Okay. And then you have add column option, wherein you can add an extra column, which you might add it with respect to certain condition or with respect to certain custom function that you introduce. Okay. And then you have view tab. Okay. And in view tab, you can view the column quality, column distribution, column profile. I'll tell you what that is right now. You don't worry about it. Okay. And this is actually not necessary. The diagnostics, you can neglect that. And in the help, basically you can post the questions to the community here. Basically the Power BI community, they will be having their own forums and threads. If you have any doubts, you can, or have any new requirements in terms of reporting, then you can post your queries there. Okay. So let's come back to the home tab. In home tab, you can see at the top, we have the option remove rows. Okay. And under remove rows, there is the option remove top rows. Do you think we need to remove certain top rows? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Top 4 rows needs to be removed. So I'll go to remove top rows. And then it'll ask me how many top rows you want to remove. I'll mention 4. And once that is done, those top 4 rows will be removed. As simple as that. Okay. And next thing is, I want this row to be acting as the header. Okay. So there is one more option in here. You can see use first rows as headers. Can you see this? Now you just need to click on this. If you just click on this, that will become the header. Got the point?
Got it, sir.
Now, there's one more thing to be noted with respect to Power Query Editor. Now see, as and when you're performing the new steps or applying certain steps in terms of transformation, those steps are getting recorded in here. Are you trying to, are you getting what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes.
if I click on the source, the first step, it goes back to the first step, how it was. Do you remember it was like this when this data came in? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Next, what I did, I applied the first step, removed the top rows. So it will show me that particular step, what happened in that step. Okay. And then if I go to this, then it will go to the latest step and it will show me what happened here. Okay. And not just that, beside each applied step, there's a gear icon. Now let's see what happens if I go to that particular gear icon. Now see, here it is showing how many rows I removed. Basically what happened at that particular step. Now, if I want to change that, even I can do that as well. Okay. Now I'll show you how you will be encountering errors in Power Query transformation sometimes. Okay. Now let's say, for example, instead of 4, if I make it 5, then what might happen? Can anyone guess?
The header column also will go.
Header
in
column
that
will also go, and next step, it will fail. Right?
Got
The
it.
header column itself is not there. Isn't it? So this is the way, I mean, you have the option of editing the previous steps as well, but you need to make sure that editing the previous step should not impact what? The next step. Getting the point, people?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Okay. So these are some of the steps that keep on adding in here. Okay. With respect to Power Query Editor. Okay. And we actually, I'm running out of time today. Please forgive me. but I have, as I said, some extra commitment, and which is in very short notice. Okay, so we'll be doing the detailed transformation, and I'll be discussing everything in a comprehensive manner. Don't worry about this. But yeah, I'll be, and yeah, one more thing, let me show you. Once if you press close and apply, it will just go back to Power BI desktop. Okay, and whatever steps you have applied there, all those steps will be implemented. Let me show you. Now, what I mean is, look, the data which from Power Query Editor, the data which gets uploaded into Power BI desktop, that is, which comes here. Okay, just yeah. Now, can you see it doesn't have those initial blanks which the raw table had. The raw table you saw, right? Before we applied steps, how it was.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what happens is, once you press close and apply, all these steps will get applied, and then the data will be loaded into Power BI desktop. Okay, but nonetheless, this is still far from clean. It needs lots of transformations, which we will be discussing in next class. And with respect to today's class, any doubts, people? Yeah?
No, sir.
No? Okay. And also do tell me if you have doubts with respect to the previous class as well, because in previous class we discussed on how to bring in the data from different sources. Okay, and I hope you're practicing the things which I'm discussing on that day itself, because this is very important. I'll be doing certain things in the class. You will be thinking that you have completely understood that, but once you start practicing yourself, then that is the case where you will be finding doubts, or you will be finding yourself uncomfortable while doing certain things, like you will not be sure of what to do next. What is the next step? Okay, so please, my request is, please try practicing what I'm doing in the same day, so that your grasping of Power BI will be adequate. Okay, fine then. I'll if there are no further doubts, I'll stop sharing my screen. And yeah, first of all, let me stop recording.